Welcome to another episode on the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. Today, we are taking advantage of it being the end of financial year, the start of a new quarter, and we're going to unpack my planning retreats that I do. I have gained a little bit of attention over the years. I've been doing this solidly for probably about 5 years now. And I always post about it on my socials, and I get a lot of questions about it. A lot of people asking where I go, what I do, and just really genuinely curious about it. So we thought it was a really good opportunity for Em to basically interview me on this retreat that I do and how I set myself up for the year and for each quarter. So, with that being said, let's get started and look at my quarterly planning retreats.
We are child development obsessed, business besties, and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzy Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast.
Hello, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back, Lizzy. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I may have moments of croakiness, but influenza B, not fun.
I missed having you here, but we kept the
Mm.
ship running with our guest Cara, and then I
Yeah,
was
that was a good one. I listened to that this week. That was
yeah, it
good.
was good. It was one of my most favorite chats I think I've had.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
But
powerful.
we love talking about personal development, right? So
Mm.
anything to do, like her chat about purpose was just right up that personal development alley. So yeah, of course it was going to be one of my faves.
Yeah, so
Um,
good.
so you're feeling better? That's good. Any updates in your world?
I'm sure there's heaps, but yeah, interestingly, I just got knocked for six, full 2 weeks with this flu, and my motivation has been waning. And I actually was on my quarterly planning retreat when I got sick. So I was kind of halfway through. But oh yeah, and I went on my CFO course as that CFO course as well, which
That's
was
right. I
really good.
recommended that course in the NDIS podcast episode.
Yes, yeah, that was really, really good. I got a lot out of that. Might be worth doing an episode on that or even getting Michelle on. Because
Well, I think that would be really good because the main theme of this, all these NDIS changes, and even like regardless of NDIS, being having a sustainable clinic that supports you and supports your employees or supports you if you're a sole trader, you need to know your numbers. Doesn't matter
totally.
what size of business you have, you need to be responsible and you need to be a good yeah, you need to have a good understanding of how numbers work in your business and how they can work for you. So yeah, that might be good.
Yeah, I think it was really powerful because I feel I feel like I know my numbers, but it was really interesting because she kind of took it obviously to a whole new level, and it was about having clean data, and it was all about having clean data that tell a story that allow us to identify risks and mitigate risks in our business.
Mm.
And literally the next day, the NDIS announcement came out about the pricing, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting because she was talking about internal risk and external risk. And external risk is those things that you have no control over. Prime example being NDIS
Mm.
changing their funding, and just I think being aware of those risks and making sure that your data is telling a story and that you understand the story it's telling, so that you can then make decisions and planning around it. So it was kind of really good timing from that perspective, and the fact that I was doing my quarterly planning in and around that because I went down to Sydney. So I just decided to do my planning retreat in that trip, and then yeah, I got struck by the flu, and so basically have just been horizontal for a couple of weeks.
Question like, how do you manage that when you're sick and things still need to function and happen? What And so you obviously had a lot to catch up on. Like if obviously if you're a sole trader and you get sick, it is very devastating. Like to be out for 2 weeks if that's your income. What did you do, or you've got any tips or tricks for anyone?
Oh, it's really hard because if I had have been like if I had have been clinical, if I had been seeing clients, I would have gone back a lot earlier.
Mm.
And so I was impacted for 2 weeks. I started working in that time, but I was kind of on the edge of burnout. I felt like leading up into the to this because as we've mentioned a few times, I've had a really big start to the year, last 12 months. It's been pretty big. So I was at the point where I had said to myself, if I can just tick off one thing a day, I will be happy. So, like one step in the direction that I want to be going. So, I've got my quarterly plan, and it's like if I'm taking one step a day from that quarterly plan, then I was happy. So, I just kept like I probably had 3 or 4 days off where I didn't do anything. And I just had to go with it. Like I just had to say to the teams, I'm off. I won't be in meetings. I won't be in anything. Um, and and then I kind of just introduced like just okay, let's just get back to doing one thing a day. And I'm still there. I'm
Mm.
still just doing one thing a day. So, and that's actually like it makes me realize that I actually do a lot every day. So doing one decent thing a day is probably enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're not falling backwards, you're sort of just actually maintaining the ship.
I'm still moving forwards because I'm still taking a step in the direction of what I've kind of outlined as my goals,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. And this is probably where your quarterly planning becomes so important because you've already got everything mapped out, right? So you know what you should be doing. So if you're sick, it doesn't require that brain work to be going, okay, like what am I doing? Where am I? Because you've already got it mapped out, right?
Exactly. And I can kind of look at it like I had really bad brain fog with the flu. So I like the creative work. I tried to do my social media day and I just couldn't do it because and I ended up doing it this morning and I got it out so quickly. Whereas I sat there last week and for hours and I just couldn't create because I was just brain fog. So it's almost like, okay, I've got a plan. I've got all these tasks that I can be doing. Which ones, like, what's the low-hanging fruit in terms of energy? So it might be changing the plan a little bit in terms of when I'm doing things, but it still felt good just to be going, right, I'm just ticking one thing off.
Hmm. That's good. It's good
Yeah.
advice. So let's dive into the quarterly planning.
Yep.
Can you just actually give us an outline? So you would obviously do an annual plan as well. Like you do, we've talked about that before, like you do 5 years annual. And so this quarterly planning is more just a planning around your long-term vision. Is that right?
Yes. So I do at the end of financial year, I will do a 12-month, a 5 year and a 12-month plan and a quarterly plan. And then each quarter, I will just refer back to that 1 year plan. So I don't look at the 5 year, I just look at the 1 year plan. And then I will make sure that I'm working towards that 1 year plan. So that's kind of like my guiding light, I guess, in terms of going, right, what do I need to be doing in this next quarter based on what I've just done and the direction that I'm going in.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to walk us through what it looks like?
Sure. So I go away, always go away. I try to leave Brisbane. More recently, I have not, I can't remember what I did. Oh no, I went up to Peregian last time. I like to go new places as well because I find that when I travel and when I go somewhere new or different, I feel really, really inspired and lots of different ideas and things drop in. So I was going up to Noosa for a couple of years, and then I started going to Byron, and then I mixed it up. Last time I went to Peregian, which was really good because there's like nothing in Peregian. So there's kind of like no distractions. So you're really kind of sitting there and just having some space. And sometimes I go to a hotel in Brisbane if I'm really short on time and I can't manage the 3 days. So I go for, generally speaking, I'll go for 3 days, and I've got like a bit of a a plan. So day one, I arrive, I do something really nice, like go to a day spa or go out for lunch, something that feels quite indulgent. And I do that as my reflection day, where I do like a massive reflection on where I'm at, how far I've come. I've got like a series of questions that I ask myself and answer. Day two is then goal planning, and I really go, okay, where am I, where am I going in the next 12 months? What do I need to be doing in the next quarter? And then I will align that to, so I'll do the goals and then the scheduling. So I look at my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then day three, I'll get it all in my task management software, my Asana, and it's all scheduled out with a bow, like it is all done and scheduled. And then I go and do like an activity. So when I'm at Noosa, I'll go and do stand-up paddleboarding or something like that. I might go for a little shop and then I'll come home. So that's kind of like the routine. And yeah, it's some, adaptation to that each time. I'm not kind of like getting a full 3 days each time, but it's some adaptation of it.
Yeah, I think that's really healthy as a business owner. Obviously, it's going to look different the amount of time, but the actual activities are really, really essential and healthy to do. So when you say on that middle day, the main day that you have away, are you just doing work? Are you doing personal life too? Like I feel like a lot of people might be like, how does that take you all day? Like, what do you actually like? Are you doing a lot of different tasks or what does that look like?
Well, a couple of things. Originally, when I started, I only did 2 days, and I found that I was so exhausted because it was like just so incredibly full and rushed, because you can't check into a hotel until 2. You have to go to leave at 10 or whatever. So it's kind of like completely jam-packed. And what I wanted to make sure was that I was going on these retreats and I was coming back feeling really inspired and reinvigorated. So I will probably only work in that middle day when I've got a full day. I'll probably only work for 4 or 5 hours of that. And then like I go for a big walk, I go like, I go on adventure, I wander around, I read a book. I'm not doing any other work. I'm out of office. So I switch off from day to day. Uh, and yeah, and I have lots of nice things in there. So, but in saying that as well, I have 3 businesses. So I'm now doing the quarterly plan for 3 businesses. So when I first started, it was just one, and now I'm doing kind of 3 plans. I also I start actually with my roles and goals. And so that I break up into basically the roles that I believe I hold, which is a role like myself, as a wife, my family, and as a mother, as a business owner, as a manager and clinical EP, and then I have like things that I want to do for home, financial, travel, any nice things. So I've got kind of like a personal page that I do. And I just list out, like, for me, it's about like I've put, for example, in my me list, it's got my marathon training in there. It's got weekly saunas. It's got my miracle morning. It's got like diet and water consumption and friend catch ups and stuff like that. As a wife, I've got, shared goals that we're checking in with, date night each week, that we're not allowed to talk about work, just, all of those sorts of things. So I actually start with that because something that Lorraine introduced me to, which I feel like has just been transformational for me, is that when we look at 5 year and 1 year planning, we look at where you want to be personally. So it's like, what do you want your life to be looking like personally? And then you do your business because you work your business is your vehicle to achieving those personal goals. So it's kind of first about dropping in and going, okay, where do I want to be as a person in all of those roles, in all of those things, areas of my life? And then what does my business need to do to allow me to live that life?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it makes total sense. Being the business owner, you can't just be like, I'm just going to focus on the business because
Mm,
we're a whole person. And it's so important that we have a balance in our life, which constitutes personal and business, particularly when you've got a
absolutely.
family as well, right?
Yeah, and I feel like my reflection this last quarter, and I kind of reflected the year, this last 12 months, as I've mentioned, pretty much every podcast has been my most difficult. However, it has also been my most aligned. I've also been the most present at home that I have ever felt that I have. I've been really, um, what's the word? Intentional about spending one-on-one time with my children, going away for weekends, and uh, and yeah, like honestly, it's probably been personally the most happy that I've ever been, um, whilst professionally the most challenging.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's really interesting to reflect on that, and I had a reflection session with Lorraine when I was in Sydney, and yeah, and it was really nice to reflect on that and really see that come to fruition after really intentionally going, okay, where do I want to be? And it wasn't, it's funny as I get older, I feel like where I want to be personally is really shifting from that achievement based goals. I mean, I've got a marathon in there that's fairly achievement based, but I feel like it's shifting from this like, yeah, achieve all these things and these big things and earn a certain amount of money, and to much more values based, like being present, having energy on the weekends. Like it feels more about how I feel now.
Yeah, I think it's probably maturity and age and
Yeah.
experience and lived experience when you've done the other way and gone, I don't want to live like this anymore, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
So how I love the fact that you said that even though it's been so challenging at work, you've been able to be like the most happy that you've been with being present and things like that. How were you able to maintain that personally when work was so challenging?
I just I think it comes back to this planning and my schedule and having boundaries around that schedule, which I do in my quarterly planning. So I drop in and I go, right, where did I say I wanted to be? And where do I want now, like in the next 3 months, how do I want to kind of elevate that or maintain that? And and so I do my roles and goals, and then I will do my schedule based on those roles and goals before I even look at business goals. And I will go, okay, so I want to do the running. In my family and mum section, I want the one-on-one time. I want the weekends away with each of my kids. And so I actually map all of that out. So I walk with Flinders on Monday morning and I walk with Marley on Tuesday morning. I have date night on Wednesday. I have my, I go over my nanny's schedule so that Brookie is locked in for the times that I really need her there. So, and I plan for what I want to personally achieve first, and then I go, okay, how much time have I got in my week to do the professional stuff?
Mm.
And then I go, okay, so what's realistic for me to achieve uh, professionally in terms of the goals? Because I feel like what I also used to do was I would, these goals that I wanted to achieve were just like massive. And my schedule was so full. And now I'm almost going, okay, what's the least I can do, but still get there?
Yeah, it's just a steady race, not an exponential race.
Yeah. And also going, who can help me? So I've got these, once I get to the business stuff, like who can help me do these things? Because I found what I was doing was I was creating a schedule, I was creating a goal, a quarterly plan that kept me really, really busy,
Yeah.
instead of filling my team up and giving my team more responsibility. So
Mm,
now I really look at it and go, okay, what do I have to do in this? And what can I actually delegate to my team to
mm.
fill them up if they're not full and give them extra responsibility? And start on that path to doing less myself in the business and giving other people the responsibility.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so good. The clarity there is key, right, to managing all the
Mm.
things that that you have to manage on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So when you're reflecting, what do your reflections look like?
So I've got like a bunch of questions. I've got this big must be an A3 book. And so I've got my previous 90-day plan in there, and then I start like a fresh page. I'll do the wheel of life is my like first thing, which is basically, and I just draw it. So I draw a circle, and I got this from Lorraine as
I was
well.
going to say Lorraine. I've
Yeah.
given that to my team.
Yeah. And you go through and you go, what is it? Well-being, spirituality, financial, career,
I know cars in there. Is
no,
that
romance.
a different one? Yeah.
That must be a different one. Romance, filling tank, environment, so like your space, and friends and family, I think is in there as well. And then you go around, so it's this circle, and you basically, closest to the middle of the circle is not good, and then as you get wider, it's good. And so you rank yourself based on how you feel you are, and and really, ideally, the wheel should be round so that it's balanced. And so the shape of the wheel kind of indicates how balanced you are in terms of your holistic life, I guess. Uh, and then you reflect on your top three areas and why they're your top three areas, and then your bottom three areas and one thing that you can do to move each of those areas forward or up, so that it's more balanced. So that's always the first thing that I do. And then I will look at my previous roles and goals and quarter, and I'll go through and basically just tick it. I tick it off each week anyway. But I'll go through and just re kind of identify what I have achieved, because it's kind of there in my plan, and I tick it off. And so I see what I achieved and the impact of that, and kind of reflect on the impact of that, see what I didn't achieve and why maybe I didn't achieve that. I also look at what books I've read or podcasts, because I keep notes on those things. And I reflect on, my biggest learnings from those podcasts and books, and if I've implemented them into the business as well, because I feel like
Mm.
we can read and listen and do all this stuff, but not actually do anything with it. And that's something I feel like you do really well. You really implement like the books, really well, I
Yeah.
feel. So, yeah, so I kind of look at that as well. And then there's like a whole bunch of journal questions. So like looking at habits, that have supported me this quarter, habits that need to be addressed or adjusted. Then I revisit my 5-year and 1-year goals, look at to see if I'm on track. identify the wins and the strengths and effective behaviors. I look at what has made me proud. And then, yeah, here's some really powerful reflective prompts that I found. I think I just found these on social media. I keep kind of adding things to it because I'll see things and I'll be like, oh, I'll put this in my planning. And then I kind of just, like I say, like sometimes I'll do it and sometimes I won't necessarily do it. It just it's how I feel. And but this tends to be a good one to do like leading into your goals. So if you knew the answer, what would it be? If there were no limits, what would you do? What would you like to explore next? What advice would you give to a friend in the same situation that you're in? And what would the wisest person you know say? So just some like, kind of reflective sort of,
They sound familiar from our coaching book. The
yeah,
performance for coaching, not all of them, but some of them were, because I was only looking at
feel
them
like,
yesterday. And
yeah.
that the coaching book that we were looking at,
Yeah,
the
it's like
top
if you
10 most
wouldn't
powerful
fail, what
questions.
would you do? Like,
Yeah,
those sorts of questions, which I
yeah, they're
think
good.
I think that's really good when you're thinking about your 12-month goals. It's like if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do?
Mm.
Which is
They're really
kind of
great
quite,
questions to ask
yeah,
yourself, because often we are just so focused on our limitations, our restrictions, what we can't do. And so that really just stamps our creativity and capacity. So it's amazing the power of flipping the question.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'll also do a bit of an energy audit. So just look at the things or activities that both drained and boosted my energy over the last 3 months.
Mm.
And then just kind of re-identify if there's some habits or rituals or daily practices that I need to get in my schedule to manage my energy a little bit better. And that's been a really important one for me, I think, and probably something that I've struggled with a little bit over the last 6 months, just busyness and whatnot. But I like to have something that I'm working on from an energy management perspective daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. So something that I can do each day, which would be like my miracle morning, something that I can do each week, which would be like a sauna, something I can do monthly, which might be a night away, or the kids having a sleepover at mum's and Pete and I having like a child-free night, and then something that we can do a quarter. We went to SeaWorld with the kids, which was just like so good for my soul. Um, so yeah, so I kind of do a bit of an energy management audit. And that is day one. I will also I also look at my P&Ls.
Yeah, in
Just
that
like
reflection. Yeah.
look at the figures. If yeah, I do always
You
look at
need to
that.
know your numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important, right?
Yeah. And then I like to take myself out for dinner and kind of like make it nice and go, look at all the things that I have achieved in the last 3 months. And I just, oh, it's so powerful because you can think that you've done absolutely nothing and you go, okay, what have I done in the last 3 months? And it will be nuts,
Hmm.
the amount of stuff that you've done.
Sometimes it really takes you writing it down, right? Or typing it out
Yeah.
to realize, oh, wow, you know, I have
Yeah.
actually achieved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible.
Question. When you
Yeah.
take yourself out for dinner, do you feel awkward sitting by yourself at a
No,
table? That's so
no.
good. That's so,
But
I'm just like, I
I've
can
been
just see
doing it for
everyone in the
so long.
audience asking that question.
Yeah, I actually love it. I love traveling on my own. I always
Yeah.
have. Like I even in my 20s, I took myself down to Melbourne for a week. Like I had this thing of just traveling on my own. I've been overseas on my own. I just actually love it. I don't talk to anyone. I just
Do
like,
you
yeah.
read?
I sometimes read. I try not to look at my phone. Like I try not to have that uncomfortable like scrolling behavior. I try to just sit there and I'll have a nice glass of wine and just like really enjoy it and just people watch. I love it. And Noosa is awesome for it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more hilarious than people watching. And not that people are doing, some people do weird things, but it's just like going, what's their context? You know, you don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
I
Cool.
like watching the people that work there and like imagining what their life is. Anyway, and like going for walks and looking at people's homes and going, oh, I wonder what their life is like in there.
So that's just your wonder. You're just wondering and using
Yeah,
your imagination, which you probably don't get to use a lot in everyday life. So it's like a mental
yeah,
break.
yeah.
Yeah. And then so on your third, so we've discussed first day, second day, we just did it in reverse order. Your third day is, what was that again?
I get it into Asana.
Yeah.
So I try to do so I make sure that I do my Google Calendar. That's on day two. So day two I identify the goals. I do my Google Calendar, which sometimes I'll kind of chip away at the calendar as I go. So I do that energy management and I make sure that I've got the daily, the weekly, the monthly, all of that in there first. Anything else from my roles and goals, I'll make sure it's in there, like my training and all of that sort of stuff. Then I do my goals and then I'll go, okay, when am I going to work on what from my goals? And then the third day, I get it into Asana. I delegate it to whoever is responsible for that task and delegate it to myself. And then I put in the due dates. So basically, my calendar in Asana matches my Google Calendar, which is when I'm working on things.
Google Calendar is the like personal? No.
Google Calendar is everything. It's got my personal in there as well.
Okay.
And then Asana is mostly business. It's mostly business stuff. But it's like if so for example, my Google Calendar, I'm at Northside Allied Health on Mondays, Kids Heart Pilates on Tuesdays. I do Lizzy Dawson and core stuff on Wednesdays, and then I float on Thursdays, and then Friday is a personal day and like if I need it day. So when I do my Asana, I'll put the due dates on a Monday for everything North Side. I
Right.
put the due dates for every Kids Heart Plays, everything's on a Tuesday, and then Lizzie Dawson is Wednesday. And so when I look at my Asana calendar, it's all color coded. So blue for Northside, pink for Kids Heart Pilates, and I think it's purple for Lizzie Dawson. And that matches my Google Calendar. So I kind of
Mm.
like when I'm starting my day, I'll go like I kind of know it now, but I'll go, okay, what am I doing? And I'll look at my Google Calendar and I'll be like, cool, I'm doing CEO marketing for Northside Monday morning. And then I'll go to Asana and I'll tick off those tasks
Yeah,
that
okay.
I've assigned for
Are they
myself.
the same tasks each week, or you've just blocked them in based on your planning?
Yeah, I've just blocked them in based on my planning. It's not, some of them are the same each week, and I will identify that in my goal planning. So I did that for Northside this round. I had three goals, and then I had the things left over from my last 90-day plan that really just need to be repeated on an interval. So that might be, team reviews that we developed last time, but we need to keep doing. And so now I've kind of got a fourth goal, which is operating systems that need to be continued, and I pull the stuff from the last quarterly plan and put it into
Yeah.
that as well.
Because there are things that you would repeat every quarter, month in the
Yeah,
business. Yeah.
yeah,
They're just
yeah,
ongoing
and they will
tasks.
be in my Google Calendar. Uh, to like my finances every Thursday morning. I do finance
Yes,
calls.
yes, yeah. So, when you have, say, like a project or a goal that you're wanting to achieve, how do you know how to break it down? Because, like, that's what you do, right? So you've decided,
Yep,
oh, so I'm going to work on this. I'm going to break
yep.
it down and put each step in my calendar. How do
Yep.
you know how to break it down?
So that's a good question. I think that what I've done, so for example, this last quarter, I had a goal of getting my assessment protocol done and out. And I've had that, you know, floating around for ages. And sometimes despite all my planning, I don't get things done
Yeah,
for
flexibility
whatever
is key,
reason.
right?
Yeah.
Because things always pop up.
Yeah. And I was really determined to do this quarter. So I was like, okay, assessment protocol launched, like launched. So what needs to be done? And who can help me with these things? So it was kind of like you need to expand, like, what do I need to do? Like, to what needs to be done, and then who can help me? Because I utilized my Kids Heart Pilates girls who were doing this stuff every single day to then get this into a document
Yeah.
from Clinico that was usable. So I kind of had it. So basically, for the assessment, I needed to. I broke it up into what I want. So what do I want it to look like? And one of the tasks was outline what it looks like, then
And that would
step
be a
out
task on
step
one
one.
week. Yeah.
Yeah. And then step out step one. And then get Georgia to import their NDIS report template. Get Caitlin to work on the milestones map because we've got a milestones map in there. And so it'd be like email Georgia to update the NDIS template. And I try to make it as detailed as possible. So what's every single little task going to be? So then, get it, edit the Google document, send it to Casey to get on Canva, check what Casey's done on Canva, uh, and then send it to Jack to get into Kajabi, add it to the module, like add it as a module, like there's so many different steps
Mm.
through to getting ads, do the social media posts. Like think of, I guess one way to look at it is what does success of this goal look like? So success is that I'm covering my Facebook ad cost, and then I work out how many I need to sell to cover the Facebook ads. So I think it was 66 a month, I think sounds right. So it's like, okay, 66 a month is what my goals are. So that's really helpful because then I can say to Jack, my Facebook ads girl, I need to be selling 66 a month. So tell me, how we're kind of tracking on this. But it's really, I think if you go, what does success look like? And then work back from there. So what do I need to do to be selling 66 a month? I need to be working out what the lead cost is for it. I need to check in each week and see how it's going, how much we're selling. Is it working? Do we need to change the lead magnet for it? All of those sorts of things. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, really breaking and trying to make it really actually quite small steps because I think sometimes when I try and do it quickly, I'll do bigger steps and there's like 5 steps to that one thing.
Yeah. So it may be not achievable time-wise.
No, so you're like, and the thing is you're chipping
Catching
away at
up.
it, but
Yeah.
you're not ticking it off and you want to, I think you need to, like, I think it's really good to be ticking, well, for me,
Yeah,
for
no, it's
me,
like a
it's good to tick
dopamine
stuff
hit
off.
every time. Like you want to cross something off your list and be like,
Yeah.
I did that, I achieved that, I am on track.
And really, really helpful when you feel overwhelmed that, like, oh my God, there's so many things to do to get this new product up on Kajabi. And yeah, so if I go, okay, I want to do an assessment protocol. Like it's taken me 2 years to do this assessment protocol because it took me to do research with UQ to really understand the assessment process. It took us, a year to fine tune our initial assessments with, and so many meetings with the girls to work out what's working, what's not working,
Yeah.
what communication do we need afterwards, like all the things that contribute to a really successful session. And then how do we package that up and make it user friendly? And then test that on the girls and go, is this work? Like copy this and put it into Clinico. Does this work? And then, okay, and then how do we pick that up and sell that as a product to help other people and make it
Yeah, it's
user
a huge
friendly?
project. You have to break it down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will never achieve it.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
huge.
actually my smallest product. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
think of that and all the steps, and you and I are doing things like launching a personal brand, starting a podcast, starting a new business, getting shareholders into our business. Um, like
Lots of
all the
things.
things,
Yeah,
things that are much bigger with less help, I think. Like I was
yeah.
able to utilize my team in that particular product, but still so many steps, so many steps. So
There's
I
lots
think,
of steps to most things. Yeah.
yeah, I think breaking it down, being really detailed and just being able to tick one thing off. And if we go back to what I said at the very start of this podcast, ticking one thing off a day, if I can just tick
Mm.
one thing off a day, I know that I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I love that you've done basically all the work in your planning time. Like
Mm.
you've mapped out exactly what you would like the project to look like. You've asked yourself the question, but you've then had the time and space to think about it and to plan it out so that, and that's really then what your time should be used for in the daily, when you're actually working is the doing. You don't want to be sitting there going, what should I do today? Oh, what's happening today? I mean, there is an extent of that, but you really want to use your time at work and to be productive because you don't have 5 days a week to spend on Kids Heart Pilates. It's one day a week, if that. So that is amazing, and that then gives a lot of clarity to your planning of to why it's so detailed and to why it's like everyone's going to hear, oh, 3 days, wow, that's so long, but it really is a really effective use of time because then it enables you to then carry through for the 3 months, right? And then you repeat that. So
Single best thing I've ever done in
yeah.
business
And it
is
makes sense because
recruit.
our brains like do really well when we're focusing on one thing at one time. So even though there's lots of projects, you're still focusing on planning.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit more like that right side. It's creativity. It's not time bound. It's wonder. Whereas then when you move it into the everyday tasks, like that's really the left side, working on deadlines, time frames, tasks. So they're two different like parts of the brain. So it's better if we focus on one thing at one time, bulk batch. That's what we tend to do all the time, right? We just bulk and batch everything. And then it helps you to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
So that is like a really, really in-depth discussion of what you've told me.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully people can adopt this. So what Lizzie does is going to look different from like it looks different for me. Um, and
Yeah.
that's
What does
fine.
yours look like? What do you do?
I need to work on it.
No,
Let's just say I need to work on it.
but you've achieved so much. I feel like you're much
I
more
know.
like intuitive, aren't you?
Yeah, which is funny, right? Yes. I think probably for me, the last 12 to 24 months, I've had really, really big things on my 90-day plan, which I probably needed to break down more, which I have done the last 6 months. The last 2 quarters, I've broken down more. And so then I've just it feels to me like I'm not doing a lot, but it's because I'm doing
Mm.
really big things.
Mm.
So all like really big projects. So an example would be the tech company I'm working with. Like it's sort of like in my brain one thing that I'm doing,
Yeah,
but in that there's so many different elements to it. So
exactly.
it's, the marketing for it, it's then the development of the app, it's then the clinical expertise, the business advisory things. It's all those little steps, which I would break down, but it's still in my mind one thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I mean by like I've just got like one big thing on
Which
my
is not
plan.
one big thing.
No,
It's
it's not. It's not.
yeah.
It's not. But it's like one focus.
Yeah. So I think that
Yeah.
that can really act as a block for people because,
Mm.
going an
It's
app
big.
or yeah, it's so big. So I think that if you do want to achieve these bigger things, and I guess this is, why I went on this path because I wanted to do bigger things and I needed to figure out how I could do the big thing. Like I
Yeah.
needed to
To break
map
it
that
down.
out.
Yeah.
And that is and then you're getting that, like you say, that motivation, that inspiration of going,
Mm.
yes, I've done that section. What's next?
Yeah.
And you
So,
kind of
so for me, it was like
way.
for one of the things was like this quarter, because with these big things, you're also balancing around your daily tasks as well. You've got
Yes.
to keep things ticking along. So I was like, this quarter, I will, because it's such a big task, I will just make sure I have an initial connection, an initial meeting, and then a plan of where to go for next quarter. So
Yeah.
that was then for another big thing that I was doing. But that's
Yeah.
how I broke it down to not seem like so overwhelming and give myself a practical step, which is what you do in your planning time as well. But yeah, I do need to get, but I feel like I was really good at it before I had kids. And I
Mm.
think when I was working in like a fuller time capacity. For me, I'm not working in that full-time capacity at the moment. So it's very much about the personal and balancing. So I feel like I'm doing it really well personally. With work, I've just got to like I think be a little bit more specific. But in saying that, I've also been just sort of in this period of white space because we've had this transition at Speak About, and I was like, I don't want to put anything in there because I want to be able to support Brie.
Yeah.
So it's, like it's sort of like white space so that I'm available for her. So it's intentional though still. But anyway, it's a bit
Yeah,
different.
that,
It's
I
it's
think that, but
different.
I think that's it's the same thing, but it's different because
Mm,
it's you've got a goal, which
yeah.
is to empower Brie and make that transition really successful. What does that take? It takes you being there to support
Yeah.
her and consciously not booking your time up with other tasks
Mm,
so that you can be there. And I actually need to do that. That definitely, because I feel like I am working and I feel like I did that really well with Northside. Maybe at the start of the year. And then I feel like I just got like lots of things got put on my
mm,
plate. And
mm.
so I wasn't able to kind of be there for them and hold space. It was like I was doing things while I was there, which when you're only there 1 day a week is not probably enough.
Yeah. So some of the goals are like being, like just actually being available for people.
Totally.
That's been some of my goals the last
Isn't it
quarter.
nice? I feel like it's nice when you've got goals
Yeah.
like
But
that
I
because
have to set that as a goal because I know myself, I'm a task person. So if I don't, I will just go with my tasks and I leave people in the dust. And I don't want to do that. So
yeah,
I've learnt that over the years.
yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to. It's something that, you can always improve on everything, right? But thank you so much for sharing. I think that's really good and it's really detailed. And now, because it's an episode, people can go back and listen to it every time they're coming up to a quarterly planning or a yearly planning and going, okay, like what does Lizzy do? What's the process again? Like I'm going to refresh my brain and adapt it to what I want to do. And I think there's a statistic around there, isn't it? Like only 10% of the people in the world write their goals down and then they actually achieve
Really?
them. Like it's
Wow.
really small. So lots of people have goals, they will think about them, they will verbalize them, but only like I think it's 10% of people, or it might even be 5%, actually write their goals down. And if you write it down, you're like more likely to achieve it.
I don't know what the stats are, but I
It's,
know like
yeah,
all the old school business books, they tell you to write them down every single day, which
yeah,
would take me half the day, so I wouldn't do that. But
yeah.
I've got my quarterly planning in a Google Doc, so I will pop a link to that in the show
Oh,
notes.
that would be so generous.
And
Yeah,
then I'll get it canvaed and looking nice, but for starters, it'll just be a Google Doc, and just so we've got it there.
yeah,
So I'll send that to Mary to
yeah.
get up.
That would be amazing. I'm sure everyone would love that and we'll grab that. We'll grab that. If you have questions for Lizzy, let her know. And we really hope that this has helped you. And if you don't do planning, that's fine. Hopefully, this has inspired you to actually start to set some time aside for yourself to plan. You don't need to be a business owner as well to do this. You can be an employee, it can be a student. It's about life, managing your work, your career with your life and the expectations that you have for your life. So, this is our last episode for 2 weeks. Me and Lizzy sort of take time off over school holidays, which is a way of balancing ourselves and being present with our children. So, we probably won't be in your ears for 2 weeks. It will give you a chance to go back and listen to some of your favorite episodes. And if you need to catch up with any, do that over the fortnight. And then we'll be back in your ears. We have a few exciting guests that we're going to speak with back in your ears after a 2 week break. So we hope you have a lovely couple of weeks. We'll be back soon and enjoy. Make sure you grab the planning link for Lizzy and get your planning on.